going on to Kanchan Malik, ma'am, which I'm really, really eager to listen to because I've been following your work, ma'am. Please go ahead with your expert comments.
Thank you, Tanu. All right. I hope I get my time to speak. I've requested Tanu. I, of course, start by thanking the Institute of Media Studies, Professor Upendra Padhi and his team, and Utkal University for inviting me for sharing my work in this plenary session focusing on social movements, advocacy, and civil society. Always a pleasure to be part of the National Media Conclave. Yes, I couldn't make it last time, so I was very happy that I'm part of it this year. I thank the moderator, Dr. Tanu Dang, for generous introduction and her able moderation. I'm also grateful to Professor Gopalan Ravindran and my co-panelists, Professor Biplab Chaudhary and Professor Ankuran Datta, for their valuable interpretations, inputs, and thoughts on the topic of the session. I hope my presentation addresses to some extent the concerns raised by Professor Ravindran. And as Ankuran has said, yes, my work, my presentation does talk about community radio, but it goes a little beyond and also talks about women and that they should be heard. So I hope, and participatory video, of course, is an important community media that is coming up. And my presentation, of course, refers to that also. So when Professor Upendra Padhi said that he wanted me to talk about my work on community media, especially, I thought I'll connect it to, my work on women and community radio and broadly community media in this session on social movements, advocacy, and civil society. So I deem it appropriate to unpack, in the given time to me, the concept that I have been working with in this connection. And I've been constructing a concept called that I term as voice capability. So that is what I'm trying to talk about today. The reason is that the theoretical building blocks for the concept of voice capability are social movement, advocacy, and these two, of course, cannot exist without civil society, which also, as Professor Ravindran had said, is a term that needs to be problematized. So let me try to deconstruct the concept voice capability and contextualize it within the broad rubric of the theme of this conclave, that is communication for social change. And for doing that, I refer to the social movements, the women's movements that seek to push the boundaries for gender equality or for gender mainstreaming in development. And then I go to women in community communications as the civil society groups that forge what are called subaltern counterpublics. Um, from civil society, I go on to community radio, as expected, as an advocacy tool to facilitate women empowerment by strengthening participation and voice at the grassroots level. And I've been engaging with them for about 2 decades now. So finally, I bring all of this together to introduce the concept of voice capability, which is a framework or, to assess and evaluate. Yesterday, we've been talking about methodologies in some of the sessions. So it helps evaluate if women who are part of the community radio initiative, or for that matter, any other grassroots initiative. We were talking about Nautanki also yesterday. Devendra Sharma ji was talking about it. So women who are involved, they feel confident that their voices and their lived experiences are being valued and that they can speak openly and freely and contribute to decision making that concerns their own lives. So let us start first by analyzing the intersections between development discourse and women's movement. So I'm sure you all know that issues such as feminization of poverty, unequal pay, anti-dowry abuse, domestic violence, all of these have been a part of some of the key struggles of contemporary women's movements, and especially, in the patriarchal belt in South Asia. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 5 reads, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. And thus, mainstreaming gender in social change discourses is a high priority social goal worldwide, and it also in India. So several programs have been promoted by our government to improve the condition of women in general, and poor rural women in particular. So, what is the endeavor of these women movements? It is to question the oppressive patriarchal structures as well as the existing regressive social norms and introduce alternative practices, spaces, and philosophies that change the sex role stereotyping. Women have to do this, this, and this, and not this, that, and that. So, that has led to this is the attitude that has led to women's increased marginalization. If we look at what is called the gender and development approach that has emerged from ground up experiences, it calls for the necessity to create a cultural shift in how development is understood. It stresses pluralism and the need to obtain context and culture specific understanding of women's concerns based on their lived experiences. So, ask women on how they want to be involved and what is the change that they are looking for. So, third world scholars stress the need to focus on recovering women's silenced voices and knowledge and to involve women meaningfully in policy making roles and any development initiative that touches their lives significantly. So, coming from the social movement to civil society, there is a growing consensus among development practitioners that those who have been traditionally uh, socially and culturally marginalized, such as women. So, people who have been economically and politically disenfranchised must be involved as partners in development. So, women as partners in development. And Pilar Riano argues that women's role as communicative subjects and producers of communication is still being disregarded. And globally, women are most disadvantaged in terms of access to media, both as receivers and producers of information. There are various causes for this. Women are poorer than men, discriminated against in right to education, hindered in using media. Women are confined to domestic roles, their mobility is limited. Furthermore, ethnic minorities, poor segments of society, and the disabled women must fight to be heard. And whenever they are granted visibility, they often are at the center of sensationalist and stereotyped news. So, the paradigmatic shift in development communication that we were talking about in several sessions yesterday has been towards building democratized and decentralized discursive spaces at the grassroots level that offer the prospect of giving all stakeholders a voice. A voice. So, community media, by definition, are those media that are produced about, by, and with the people, and not merely for the people. So, community radios have played a key role in facilitating women's groups to articulate issues from their standpoint. So, what does Nancy Fraser designate these parallel discursive arenas of civil society? She calls them subaltern counterpublic and describes them as venues where members of subordinate social groups invent and circulate counter discourses, which in turn permit them to formulate oppositional interpretations of their identities, interests, and needs. So, another scholar, Gitlin, conceives these uh, subaltern counterpublics. He uses the term spherucules as a subset of civil society competing with the dominant public sphere to promote the democratic citizenship and offset the participatory privileges enjoyed by certain dominant social groups. Now, let us now look at community radio and as the advocacy tool. So, whether you conceive, the empowerment of women as an individual journey or a collective struggle, both perspectives, the need is for women to discover and use their individual or collective capability of voice. So, community radio, as many of you here would already know, has played a key role in providing women with innovative opportunities to reflect on their own situation, status, and to plan collective campaigns. So at present, there are about 289 operational CR stations, two-thirds of which are run by NGOs and local communities. Many CR initiatives in India continue to be led by women. Sangam Radio that Ankuran had mentioned in Telangana, then Radio Ujjas in Gujarat. This is a Kachi radio. and a significant number of NGO and community-led CR stations, community radio stations, they work with women and other groups oppressed on the grounds of gender. Now, example in these are Waqt Ki Awaaz in Uttar Pradesh, Gurgaon Ki Awaaz in Haryana, Alfaze Mewat also in Haryana, Rudino Radio, which is part of the Seva in Gujarat, Radioactive in Karnataka, Mandeshi Tarang Vahini in Maharashtra, Radio Madhuban in Rajasthan, and other who have strong gender programming. And studies have showed that many of these stations, in many of these stations, the new information derived uh, from program making also enables women to become conscious of their own rights as well as the circumstances of other women and make informed choices and plan group action. What women do is they redefine their self perception, become confident in public speaking, and discuss their problems in public meetings and sometimes even challenge traditional norms. This brings me to the concept of voice capability. So one of the reasons for this women coming out is that community radio indeed follows the slogan voice of the voiceless and generates opportunities for discussing women related matters, disseminating accurate reports and images of women, motivating women's engagement in development. But the issue is that all this is done at the level of functioning and not at the level of capability. Now, Andrea Cornwall differentiates these participatory processes that I just talked about from the concept of voice and argues that voice needs to be nurtured. So just having women, on the panel is not, the genuine way of making them participate. They should also be heard. Their views should also be respected. So voice needs to be nurtured. People need to feel able to express themselves without fear of reprisal or the expectation of not being listened to or taken seriously. And this, of course, cannot be guaranteed, no matter how well-meaning the instigators of the processes may be. So this is the issue Cornwall has with a lot of participatory processes that only talk in terms of numbers of women. So given this background, my attempt is to work on the concept of voice capability, which combines the scholarship on the politics of voice with that of Amartya Sen's concept of capability. That is, a person's freedom to accomplish that functioning or exercise which is of value to a person's life. So the questions to be asked for voice capability are community radio station spaces, um, uh, do they facilitate the capability for women to have a voice and a voice that matters? Does community radio have the conversion factor leading to structural changes that enable women to assert their freedoms to communicate and contribute actively to decision making processes? So, has it brought about change in their personal circumstances or facilitated collective voice capability and collaborative functioning among women? So, let me end by saying that voice capability concept or the framework to evaluate it uses participatory methods that give agency to the research, that is women, in determining the narratives and interpretations during the interaction of the researcher with the women's groups. This helps in meaningfully mapping how women navigate the complex path and the process of advocacy for women empowerment by negotiating with the hegemonic patriarchal structures to challenge the culturally disempowering gender norms and come out of what is a condition of silence. Thank you.